Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this particular video, I'd like to talk about another movie that's a favorite of mine, and that is Shaolin Soccer by Stephen Chow. He co-wrote, directed, and produced this particular feature. You may know him from such movies as CJ7 and Kung Fu Hustle. It's also co-written by Sang Kan Cheong, and this is just a hell of a movie. Very, very fun, very hilarious, non-stop action from beginning to end, and we're talking almost supernatural action, like superhero stuff. And it all has to do with this marriage of concepts between Shaolin Kung Fu and, of course, the game of soccer. Now, as with Stephen Chow's other movies, this is a very heartening movie. You have characters that are really sort of emotional, and there's gravitas to them, and you can empathize with them. You know, essentially, Sing, his main character, that he also portrays, is somebody who is very disciplined in the Shaolin sort of, thinking, as well as being. And he uses these aspects to his advantage where he can, but he never wants to fight. He never wants to utilize it for revenge or anything like that. He's a very honorable character in that way. And his sort of just wandering, amiably though it may be, journey coincides with this former soccer player's plight. We see in a prologue to this particular movie that this soccer player and his brother were two of the biggest all-time players back in the day. It's a black and white sequence giving you the idea that this is olden times. And it turns out one brother kind of wanted to one-up the other. So he actually lied, he cheated, he stole, he hired people to smash his leg up so he has an injury for life, so that he would be the one who took the fame and fortune. Now it's present day, and this brother is the head of a large soccer conglomerate kind of thing. A very greedy, just thorough bastard through and through, and his brother is still very much injured and being subservient to him, to the point where this guy walks into a room, the greedy bastard, and his brother has to get down on all fours. He puts his shoe on the back of the brother's head, and the brother has to shine his shoe without even being able to see it. That's how demeaning he is. So the brother finally has enough, the injured one, and leaves, after basically his greedy bastard brother tells him, I did this all to you purposely. I wanted to be the one to win. I wanted to be the one to be rich. I didn't want you to have any chance of that whatsoever. And he finally has enough, and the injured brother very bitterly, leaves and gets drunk. And this is when he meets the main character, Sing, with this dutiful discipline of Shaolin Kung Fu and all of that. And at first he's not very impressed with him, but later they run into each other again when Sing has been accosted by a bunch of gangsters who want to kick his ass, and he ends up kicking their asses because, basically he's put between a rock and a hard place. He has to defend himself. And he does so in spectacular fashion, using, of all things, a soccer ball. And so this former soccer player who's injured sees this, and he's like, oh my God, we could actually go with this kind of ability. If you know anyone else who can learn this ability, we could actually go to this big hulking soccer tournament that's up and coming that my brother's going to be at. His Team Evil, as it's called, is going to be there representing him. We could actually go and try to defeat them once and for all. And so it's really cool because then, of course, these two sort of mismatched people go looking for the rest of Sing's Shaolin brothers, of which I think there are 4 or 5, all of varying ages and everything, and each one of them has a special ability. One has, whereas Sing's is having a leg of steel, he can kick super normal, like Superman level. He kicks a can and it goes halfway across town, that kind of thing. His brothers all have special abilities. One has an iron stomach, one has an iron skull, and all that kind of stuff. And it's very interesting. The heaviest guy is known as the little brother, and he is actually the lightest of them. He can float up in the sky higher than anyone. And so it's very funny how none of them are interested in becoming a soccer team at first, but eventually they all feel like, they have to get back some level of honor they lost after their Shaolin master passed away, and they all split. They all cut ties. So they all come back together, go through this just hilarious training sequence, and, of course, they're going to go up against the enemy teams. Now, in order to do this, they actually have to go through several other teams, and it's kind of comical seeing them just best each one after the other, and how shocked and surprised all these, opposing teams are at the skills of, the worst-looking soccer players you've ever seen. But they all have that kung fu discipline, and they're applying that, and it's giving them almost special abilities to win the day. And it's very cool because along the way, of course, Sing, the main character, also has a romantic interest with this girl who seems to have a natural talent of kung fu ability. She makes sweet rolls at this little eatery that they go to. And their first sort of debut, he sees her abilities. He's prompted to sing to her, kind of serenade her, and then he kind of cons her out of a couple of the sweet rolls that he can't afford, gives over his destroyed hold-up shoes to make up for the 50 cents per that he owes her, and she's going to throw them away, but instead she decides to patch them up for him because he's the first person that ever told her she was beautiful. She works in a kitchen all day. She's all, greasy and sweated up and has acne all over her face and hides it behind hair and everything like that, and he's the first person who said, "You're a beautiful person, you have great ability," and everything like that. So this budding romance comes to a culmination toward the end of the film. I won't ruin here how it all does, whether for better or for worse. It's very interesting that, as I say, it's a very heartening story and relatable story, even though it's absolutely hilarious and over the top. And of course it features appearances by such names as Vicky Zhao, Nigman Tat, Patrick C. Yin, Karen Mock, Cecilia Chung, Vincent Koch, and Li Hui, who is being introduced in this particular film. But I love it. It's a very good versus evil kind of movie, and it's fantastical. It's absolutely hilarious, like I say. And, the sort of special effects moments are married with actual action. There's a great line by Stephen Chow who's talking about, that opposite team, they must be using wires with all the abilities they have. And you can tell that some of the action sequences are actually, they've taken the wires out, but there were wires involved. So it's almost like he's having fun with the entire genre of this particular martial arts kind of flavor, But Centro Digital Pictures Limited apparently are the ones who did a lot of the CG stuff, and you can tell it's CG, but it in no way, sort of takes you out of the story. It just makes everything that much more, because it's used in limited supply. It just emphasizes the special abilities all of these kung fu specialists turned soccer players have, and it's very cool by the end. Again, I won't spoil the ending exactly, whether or not they're able to succeed against Team Evil, but let me put it to you this way. It is no easy battle at all. You basically have this rich, greedy brother trying to bribe his, weakened brother to get the team out of the opposition entirely. And when this doesn't work, he ends up using steroids and drugs and all this stuff to super power up his team so that the match is truly one of equals by the end. And it's very interesting to see just to what lengths both teams are taken in trying to win the day. And again, I won't spoil who does, how they do, and everything like that. I highly recommend checking out Shaolin Soccer if you haven't seen it already. And yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.